All right, and we're live. Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Deconversion Stories. Today, I'm chatting with Matthew Randall. We met fairly recently via Twitter and stuff like that, and kind of followed each other because we have a similar interest in, like, well, obviously atheism and music and stuff like that, and voiceover work, which I once wanted to get into myself, but was unable to. Oh, and just so you guys know, we're having some issues with the sound, so it might sound a little screechy, so you might want to turn your volumes down a little bit from time to time. That's some weird echoey thing going on in the background. If anyone might have any suggestions how we can tackle that, because I can't figure it out. Oh, Mr. Venture's in the chat already. All right, so anyways, Matthew, basically, I was just explaining to you what I like to do here on my channel. I just talk to people about their journeys away from faith and belief and stuff like that, and ultimately what led them into their atheist activism, and and the ups and downs of your journey, like family, friends, that kind of thing. Like, how did it affect you, that sort of thing. So I'll stop talking and let you take it away. So go ahead.
Basically, from the time I was really young, when we started going to church, I've always had an issue with religion. I never understood. It never really made any sense to me, because I would learn about stuff that they would teach during, like, Sunday school and in church, and then I would go learn about evolution in school, and
Right.
it wouldn't make sense to me, because, I believed in what they were teaching me in school. And so when they said, this whole creation thing, that God created everything, and as a youngster, I felt really confused all the time. I'm like, well, what do I actually believe? And I want to believe more of what I've been taught in school, because, that's what everybody else is learning. And I'm thinking, why don't they teach this in school if it's true? And I've always had a hard time trying to spread the word of God, because I just, it's kind of like, how do you say, like a pair of new underwear, like really constrictive and uncomfortable. Like,
So unlike the Mormon magical underwear, then.
Yeah, I can't imagine that that's actually comfortable at all. And I just went through periods in time where I've had issues with religion, and more specifically, within the last 15 years or so. See, I have gay friends, and I love my gay friends. They are awesome people. I would do anything in the world for them. But then you go to church, and they say that homosexuality is a sin, and it's an abomination, and they should be stoned. And I'm like, why? They're just people. If God created all of us in His image, then He created gay people the way they are. And why should they be punished for, being themselves? That doesn't make it. None of this stuff makes any sense. And my girlfriend really opened my eyes to a different line of thinking, because at one point, I had gay friends, I loved them, but I would get on things like Facebook and, disrespect all the gay people for being gay, and saying, oh, you're going to go to hell, and that made me a hypocrite. And I didn't want to be that anymore, because I couldn't, after a while, I couldn't conscionably do it, because it just didn't make any sense to do it anymore. And so because my girlfriend didn't convince me to be an atheist. My opinion, I kind of think she's a closeted atheist, but she's like more of a just non-religious. She doesn't really have an opinion either way.
She identifies, I guess, as one of those people that they call a non-affiliated, non-religious, that kind of thing.
Yeah. She's kind of like spiritual, and that's okay, and she doesn't push it on me. she kind of believes that there's, you know, there's something after us, but she doesn't know what it is. I just don't believe in any of that sort of thing. The problems I'm having now is, like, on Twitter, I'm a pretty outspoken activist on atheism. You probably got some of my stuff and thought, dude, shut up.
Oh, hell no. I'm like, yeah, fucking stick it to him.
But I can't do that on Facebook. My girls still go to a Catholic school, and I have friends that, like, people that I know on Facebook that that if I started being an atheist activist on Facebook, they would probably end up getting kicked out of school, and we would be disfellowshipped or whatever you call that. And so I'm actually trying to wait to be an activist until after they close down the school, because they close down our Saturday night mass, and that's usually where they get the funding for the schools. So, so I'm just waiting for them to go into public schools before I decide to publicly come out on Facebook as an atheist. And I think nowadays it's easier, or it's harder for atheists to come out, it seems like.
It depends on the situation, but yeah, for a lot of them it is, yeah.
On my dad's side of the family, I've told, you know, most of them that I'm an atheist, and they're like, all right, well, whatever, you believe whatever you want, or not believe. And I haven't told my mom because I don't know how she'll react. I mean, my sister's already an atheist, and she actually talks to her more than everybody else. So I can't imagine that having another child that turned atheist is going to, like, make her go insane or anything like that. But
probably not.
No, I'm just more worried about right now my girls being in school. You know, and the only reason why they're really in Catholic school is because they get the smaller class sizes, and we really like that, as opposed to most public schools where you're dealing with 30, 40 students or whatever, and most students, especially me, when I was growing up, I didn't get enough, like, one-on-one time with the teacher if I didn't understand something. So
right, sure.
Anyway,
yeah, it's actually it's better when it's like that. More attention is paid to the kids that way. And I mean, obviously in your Catholic school, they're probably teaching some stuff that you wouldn't agree with, but most of the other curriculum is your standard fare.
Yeah, we got to look at the curriculum, and I was worried about them being taught creationism and the pseudoscience that goes along with stuff out of the Bible, and it didn't look like that there was any of that being taught. So, and as long as that, you know, as long as they're being taught real science, I have no problem with it. I also don't. I'm not going to force my atheism on my girls. One of these days I'll tell them that, you know what, I don't believe in God, you know, or any of that. You do your own research, and if you have any questions about my views, you can ask me. I'll be upfront and 100% honest with you. Excellent. But I'm not going to force, you know, they can make up their own minds, and that's what's great about, you know, us humans being human. We can make up our own minds. We can think critically. And my oldest daughter is already just skeptical. A skeptical child is skeptical about everything, and that's awesome. It's just
good. Maybe a little of the old man's rubbing off on her.
Yeah, and more specifically her mom, because her mom's skeptical about everything. So it's like, you know, it's great. So I'm trying, and in 2014, for the longest time, I grew up Southern Baptist, and yeah, and then I just kind of was non-religious, but I believed in God and Jesus without having religion, because I hated organized religion. And what really set me into the hating organized religion was I was driving for a trucking company, and I was in Ogden, Utah, and I drank a bunch the night before, so I was hungover, and I needed to get a tire repair. And I'm standing outside Flying J, and this big old guy in a cowboy hat comes up, and he goes, "How you doing?" I'm like, dude, not so loud. My head hurts. He's like, so what are you?
What do you mean, what are you? Human?
And I thought, like, what he meant, what race am I? I go, I'm English, Irish, Dutch, German, and Mexican. Why? No. Well, are you, what kind of religious person are you? I go, Southern Baptist. And he goes, oh, and he started ranting on about how Southern Baptists are awful and stuff like that. And I'm like, all right, whatever, dude. Yeah. Like, well, what about your mom's side? I'm like, well, they're all Catholic. And he's like, oh, Catholic Church this, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, whoa, wait. What are you? And he goes, well, I'm a Jehovah's Witness. And I'm like, okay, you're a Jehovah's Witness in Mormon territory. That's almost like the Bloods and the Crips thing.
Yeah, you know? Going at each other.
Yeah, I don't know how far you're going to get around here, but and then that's what really turned me off to organized religion. And then I met my girlfriend, and eventually I told her that I'm not religious, and she goes, well, I'm going to have to turn Southern Baptist, or you're going to have to turn Catholic. And I'm like, because, it's just a family thing. We go to church, and you're going to church. I'm like, shit. So I think it was in 2012 I became a Catholic, went through RCIA and whatever that is, and it was a fun time. But, and then by 2014 I was just so removed, and I've been looking into where the origins of religion come from in general, and
which is really cool.
Yeah, and I felt like I've been lied to all these years, and that's and they accuse us atheists of being angry at God, and it's like, we're not angry at God, we're angry that we've been fed lies about
exactly
everything that is fed to us, and it's ridiculous. And so I didn't know how my girlfriend would take the fact that I was turning atheist, and she was supportive of me, but she didn't necessarily endorse it. It wasn't a deal breaker, because she said that she's had her doubts every once in a while about things too. But so, and I'm sure we all, and that's great, and I love having being able to question things. That's why I always encourage everybody that I know, question everything. Question government, question religion, everything, and law enforcement, everything. Be skeptical. And so that's just kind of how I am. I can't think of anything else that I wanted to add, but it's never, religion is just, and God, and just that whole theism thing is just I've never felt comfortable. It's never made any sense. And when I drove for this trucking company that no longer exists, I was riding with a guy to go pick up our trucks, and he was saying, I had one of those experiences with Jesus, and it was like a catatonic experience, and he was speaking in tongues, and I'm just sitting over here going, okay, whatever, dude. Just keep driving.
You're creeping me out.
Yeah. I'd rather hang out with the guy that we passed who wanted to hitchhike a ride with us, okay? I'm just like, Anyways, I've never felt comfortable trying to speak to people about God and Jesus and all that, and that's pretty much, I kind of take a Christopher Hitchens approach, where I'm also an anti-theist. I believe that religion is harmful. Religion, it breeds hate and fear, and it starts wars, and
divisive.
It is controlling. As far as I'm concerned, religion started, they made religion to start controlling the masses, because the poor people who couldn't read, or, basically were illiterate, couldn't read the Bible. So everything was spewed out by, priests and stuff like that. And they were told, if you don't act in a certain way, you're going to go to hell. And so, they had this way that everybody wanted to act. That's just how I view that sort of thing. I'm also kind of agnostic, because I can't prove that there isn't a God, and they can't prove that there is. I don't know what's after we die. I just assume after we die, that's it. I don't believe in any kind of paradise, any afterlife stuff. I just
No.
So I'm kind of a triple threat guy: the agnostic, atheist, anti-theist. So, but I figured if I put that on my Twitter profile under my name and all that, people would, even the atheists would scratch their heads going, how in the hell are you all three of those? But I just kept it simple.
Well, you know damn well Steve McRae would have an argument with you about that. the whole agnosticism thing.
Yeah. Oh, I lost you.
Oh, am I there now still?
There you are.
Yeah, sorry. I was going to say Steve McRae would argue with you on the whole agnostic atheist thing, but he goes by the philosophical definitions rather than the colloquial everyday definition.
Right.
Or, but we talked about it on my channel when I had him on actually a little while ago. It was kind of fun. And I was going to say a little something before we continue on here. Guys, if you're watching here, something I've noticed as a person that drives around the city quite often where I live, like you do, you're a trucker. I've noticed that many drivers out there don't give a lot of respect for truckers. And just so you guys realize something, that nothing that you own was not brought in by a trucker at some point.
Absolutely.
So always be courteous to truckers. If there's a big-ass rig that's about to cut in front of you, big deal. Let them cut in front of you. You can always move around them at a safer time. Have respect for truckers on the road, people, because without them, we wouldn't have anything. I wouldn't even have this computer to talk to Matthew here with it, without him, just so you know.
I appreciate that. We have several blind spots, and people, while they're driving, don't realize it, that there's one up front, two or three on each side, and then one way in the back. Basically, if you can't see my mirrors, I can't see you. Right. I run a Utah State Trooper off the road one day, and on I-15, the right lane was closing, and I checked all my mirrors and moved over, and then when I checked my mirror to get into the left lane, I seen the State Trooper go off in the median. I'm like, oh shit! And my butt clenched up. And I'm like, oh!
I bet.
He whipped back up on the road, and he pulled me over as soon as we got through the construction, and he comes up on my passenger side, and I rolled down the window, and he goes like this, leans in, and he looks down, and he goes, you couldn't see me, could you? I'm like, no, I don't purposely run state troopers off the road. I think I have big balls, but they're not that big. And he goes, okay, I kind of thought. Anyways, he taps on my door panel. He goes, you have a nice day. I'm like, you too. So, yeah. Watch out for blind spots. We can't always see what you're doing. We have to monitor. My truck and trailer is about 75 feet long, and so I have two sides of that to cover, plus front, and I have to watch multiple lanes of other people doing stuff. So yeah, it may seem like we cut you off. We're not intentionally doing it. I know, and I sometimes get in this mode too when I'm in my own personal vehicle where I'm everybody is kind of gunning to be first, and everybody else is just kind of in the way. And if you're in my way, get the hell out of my way. You're holding up progress. So, yeah, I get into them modes too, but once I get behind the wheel of a truck, I'm just a professional. I have to be more professional than everybody else out there. And for the most part, I am. I appreciate the shout out for the truckers. That's awesome.
Hell,
Thank
dude,
you.
it's something I try to instill in people quite often. I remember when I lived in Israel, over here, it's the right of way, you know, based on whatever our road things. Overseas, especially in like Europe and Israel and stuff like that, it's right of weight. The heavier vehicle gets the right. You know, so.
Sometimes I wish it was that way. Like we're, you know, us bigger vehicles is like, you know, well, technically the interstate system in the United States was developed for the military and for us truckers, basically. They originally didn't plan on having people or normal people drive on the freeways, and now you know why. If you live in a big city, the people who live in big cities make their own interstate system around the city counterproductive. Because I've noticed this is what happens. Usually you get some guy who gets on the freeway. He's like, all right, I need to go. So he goes as fast as he can, gets over in the left-hand lane, just go. That's fine. That's what that left-hand lane is for. But, oh, no, my exit is coming up in 200 feet. I need to cross all these lanes and slow everybody down so I can make my exit. And that's just one person. So if you have a series of people doing that, yeah.
It explains half the traffic issues in the U.S., I guess. You know, something I've always thought was kind of funny, interstate highways. Hawaii and Alaska have interstate highways, yet they're not connected to any other states. So how the hell are they interstate highways?
I don't know. I guess we'll never know. That's one of those questions. That is a great question, though.
I wonder. They're just called interstates, I imagine. So they just stuck with it.
Got to have fun sometimes with that.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. All right, so anyways, let's get back to the actual topic at hand. Enough of our public service announcement of respect for truckers. But it had to be said, man. It had to be said.
Thank you.
So how about, have you lost any, like, as you've come out as an atheist over the past few years, have any friends of yours or relatives sort of kind of kicked you to the curb or disowned you? Have you ever suffered anything like that? Or?
No, actually not. When I started explaining to one of my sisters that I was an atheist, I didn't have an opportunity to explain everything, but I told her I'd been watching this is in like 2017 or something like that. I started really getting into who's the Jacqueline Glenn? She was like the first one that I started. Yeah, Jacqueline Glenn. Have you seen any of her stuff?
Oh yeah, yeah. I like some of her stuff. She's hilarious, actually. So.
Yeah. And then I discovered, over the years, I've discovered, you and Telltale Atheist, Owen Morgan.
Owen's fantastic.
Yeah, we really like. I should have wrote this stuff down.
I want to get him on here.
Rationality Rules.
Stephen? Yeah.
Thomas Westbrook.
Yeah.
Holy Kool-Aid. I love that guy. I especially love his animation stuff. That's all awesome. And Non-Stamp Collector. God,
yeah. He's great, too.
Yeah.
Dark Matter 2525 is another classic.
I started, and I for a lack of better words, started religiously watching, these guys, and they're just a normal part of my life now, and I'm glad that there's a community, and I've made so many friends on Twitter. We all, back each other up, and I love the community that we have on Twitter. It's, But anyways, back to my sister. She didn't really understand how I could just turn atheist. And my little brother is like, okay, whatever, dude. Just because everybody's Catholic with my family, with my immediate family. And so I haven't, not that I know of, I haven't really lost any friends. Me and a friend of mine in my hometown, periodically we get into philosophical discussions about why he believes what he believes, and we don't cut each other down, and we're just looking, both of us are just looking for the truth. And he goes, well, you know what, and I love having these conversations with you, because who knows, maybe in a year's time I'll be in the same position that you are. And I'm like, maybe you'll find the right truth, and you'll one of us. I told him, for years I've been trying to look for truth in the Bible. I've read the Quran. I can't find any real truth, knowing where these Abrahamic religions come from. Mm-hmm. And I tried to explain that to him, and they try that circular reasoning, like, well, the Bible is the truth because it says the Bible is the truth. And I go, really? So if I read a Harry Potter book, you know where I'm going with this. If I read a Harry Potter book and it says that everything in here is true because it says it's true, would you believe me? They're like, well, no. I'm like, well, why? What makes you think that I'm going to believe, what's in the Bible? Then it's just, there's just there's too much stuff. If a God actually wrote the Bible, it wouldn't be in the format that it's in. It would be actual instructions instead of stories and conflicting stuff. And it would actually be more of a guidebook instead of a bunch of confusing jargon that you have to do a special prayer to understand if you don't, or so. Yeah, that's just kind of my views.
And they say he's not the author of confusion. I beg to fucking differ.
Yeah, no shit.
I mean, God is the allegedly omniscient and omnipotent. Omnipotent means all-powerful, which means he would have within his his skill set as an all-powerful being, he could easily write a book that no matter who picked it up, it would be in their language. It wouldn't be confusing, and everyone would understand and be on the same page, because apparently it's the most important message ever for mankind. So this wouldn't be an issue, but since it's man-made, it's an issue. So, and everyone's fighting over which religion is the right one and which path of that specific religion is the right one. And how about, I think the odds are that none of them are the right one. People, wake the fuck up, right?
Well, I'm starting to kind of go on this whole thing of, if the Jewish people are God's chosen people, then what is the point of having every other religion out there? Why wouldn't everybody just convert to Judaism?
All my relatives would agree with you.
Yeah.
That's what I was raised in.
Yeah, so I've learned at a younger age how all of this stuff, Catholicism supposedly was the first church ever, supposedly. And so you had a sect of people in there. They're like, well, we don't agree with this, so we're going to go off and make our own church. And it was almost like Catholicism, but not quite. And then you have a sect that breaks off of that and that. And then you got 10,000 different sects of Christianity, and they all think they're right. And then you got to deal with the Muslims who think they're right, and everybody else who thinks they're right. And it just hurts my brain, and I feel like I lose IQ points and brain cells after listening to these arguments. And I'm like, come on, really? You all can't be right. What if you're all praying to the wrong God, and you're just making the real God madder and madder?
Yeah, that's the Homer Simpson thing, I think.
Yeah. The first time I heard that, I laughed my ass off. It makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's
you're all afraid of the wrong God. Yeah. The cartoon. Yeah, Homer has wisdom we just haven't clued into yet.
Well, I guess you got to have some smarts working in a nuclear power plant, I guess.
I suppose. All right, so let's. Do you have anything else you want to talk about your deconversion? Like, so what made you decide? I guess it's fairly recently. You're talking like 2017ish or so. What made you kind of want to become an activist?
Because I see in my Facebook feed and my Twitter feed all of these people who are trying to reaffirm to their fellow Christians that their faith is truth, which that's kind of an oxymoron. That doesn't make any sense at all. And I get tired of seeing that stuff, and I figure, you know what? I've always thought religion, pardon my language, but religion is like a penis. It's fine to have one. It's, whatever. But when you start showing it off in public, people get really uncomfortable if they haven't been asking for it. So, yeah, so you should probably just keep that.
Yeah, ask any girl on Twitter or Facebook that's received dick pics in their private messages. Unsolicited religion is just like unsolicited dick pics.
I actually have a picture somebody took. They wrote the word dick on a piece of paper and took a picture of it. So usually I'll send that to people, like, here's a dick pic. Or I got I got a picture of a guitar pick that has dick on it.
Yes. That's the one I use all the time.
Yeah. Let me see. I just get tired of all of the reaffirmations of their faith, and they just seem like they're trying to pass it off as truth, and I just get so tired of it. And it makes me feel uncomfortable, and I know I should probably just, let them have their fun. Or, there it is.
The dick pic.
I actually need to get a pic that says dick. I get a whole bunch of guitar player. And so I would get a whole shit ton of guitar pics that just says dick, just because I'm just like that.
Because it's fucking funny.
Because it's funny. Fuck yeah. It's a pun on a real thing.
Yeah.
So
we need you and me, and I'm sure there's got to be and Duke Bonanza, and I'm sure there's got to be another couple of guys that are bass players and drummers that we could form an atheist band.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And one of my favorites, they're a satanic atheist, anti-theist, Deicide. Oh, I love Deicide. And it seems like they're more atheist nowadays than satanic, because they used to use Satanism to scare, or Satan worship to scare people. And after a while, it just wasn't working. So if you really want, if you really want to piss off the Christians or religious people in general, you need to make fun of God. You need to make fun of Jesus. You need to, prove to them that shit doesn't exist. And that's what really riles people up, and that's what makes them really think you're a satanic, you're a Satan worshiper. I felt really weird. Yeah. But yeah, I haven't eaten my daily baby yet, so for years, it's hard being a theist and then listen to Slayer and Deicide and Cannibal Corpse and things like that. But once I started realizing that that it's basically all bullshit, I don't have any problem, because at the end of the day, it's just music. And I like the content, and I like that it scares people or makes them feel uncomfortable, so I'm all for it.
Hey, sometimes that can actually, funny enough, even stuff like that can actually cause people to start thinking a little bit about, well, why are these guys making this? Why are they doing this? Why are they talking this way? I must investigate. Because some people, even religious people, can be inquisitive at times, and you know, they look into it, and then that starts sparking doubt in their minds. So more power to these kinds of bands.
And I got a hold of Slayer's God Hates Us All in 2007 or so, I think it was. I think it was a year after it come out. And that was really when Kerry King started to have his issues with religion. And I couldn't figure out why he was writing the material that he was. And then I started to look into it, and I got a better understanding of why he felt the way he did. And I could start to relate, because when you don't know about an atheist community or whatever, you kind of feel all alone, and you don't really want to reveal your atheism to anybody. And because you don't know, and as a kid, I didn't want to tell my mom and dad that I didn't believe in any of that stuff, because it didn't make sense to me. I didn't know what was going to happen to me if they were, you know, because I just didn't know if my family would shun me or whatever. So I just kind of went to church and went through the motions and all that kind of stuff. And
food's always good.
Yeah. So I lost it. It seems like atheism has really taken off now, that because the internet is great, because when you have doubts about something, you can look it up and find out the truth, or stuff that leads to the truth. And I think religion and stuff like that nature is all losing out because of knowledge. Because as far as I'm concerned, say in Genesis with the Adam and Eve story, they weren't allowed to eat from the tree of knowledge because they didn't, God wanted Adam and Eve, as far as I can tell, to not have any knowledge. And all you need is God, what God provides. God will provide you the knowledge and all that stuff. And so now
wrong knowledge, but hey.
And so I think that's just, I've never seen a religion, and especially like Jehovah's Witnesses and stuff, where a lot of them seem to look down on higher education. They want you to do just menial stuff to get by and give most of your money to them so they can, finish with their trying to deal with their own pedophilia stuff, kind of like the Catholic Church is.
Oh, it's rampant in all kinds of different sects of Christianity. So it's not just the Catholics or the JWs.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think of anything else that I wanted to add to that.
Take your time. I'll interject with a little interesting story. I worked for a restoration company doing drywalling and painting and other shit like that. This is years back. And the owner of the company was a Jehovah's Witness. And when he found out that I was a blood donor, he fired me.
Oh, yeah, because you're not supposed to be doing that. That's messed up.
Yeah, it's messed up.
Oh, man. And that's still along the same lines of, even with the ordeal that Owen Morgan went through, being disfellowshipped, like that. I feel bad for that guy. I feel bad for his daughter, Alpha Force Zero. She sounds cute. I like her, the way she sounds. It's just sad how you can lose your family that quick just because, something like that happening. It's just ridiculous.
Well, I definitely take my hat off to Owen or Telltale, for he's turned out to be a fucking fantastic example of a human being, regardless of what he went through, right? So, and I'll admit it, a lot of times I like watching his videos because he has all the drawing stuff, that goes through his videos, and I get all sleepy and shit. So it's kind of, but it's like atheist ASMR or something.
You get to watching the drawings, and then it kind of diverts a little bit away from what he's explaining. Then you have to back up the video because you missed half of what he was saying, because you're thinking, God, he can draw really awesome. You're just kind of focused on that. Yeah. So,
very good. I really want to have him on my channel. I'm going to probably give him a little poke here and there, and I'd love to hear his full story because I've only heard bits and pieces. But anyways, let's get back to this conversation at hand. Owen is, you know, maybe at some point I'll have him on. I hope I will.
Cool.
I mean, he's gone big time now. He's been on Seth Andrews' channel, for fuck's sake. So.
Well, yeah. So I guess once you hit that plateau, or you kind of plateaued there, unless you, I guess, start having conversations with like R and Raw or Matt Dillahunty and them.
I've been in one of Aaron's Patreon videos where he invites the Patreons onto his videos. Back when I was actually giving him a little more than I am now because I could afford it, but unfortunately some debts have come along that I have to take care of, so I had to drop my Patreons down to about $5 a month first. But he said he would come on and have a chat with me. This is a while back, so all I have to do basically is send him a message to say, hey, here's what I've got available if you're interested, and he'll probably pop on. He's a really, really fucking cool guy, man.
Yeah, he seems like it, and I love his talks. When he starts talking about his knowledge of what he knows about all this stuff, I'm just like, I don't hold a candle. So this guy seems like he spends his entire life just with this, and he could just spit it out. Just, you know, it seems like he has the Bible in his head, and he knows all the contradictions, and he knows where all the origins of everything is. And just to see the look on the faces of theists who try to convince him that he's wrong, and you can't, they're just like, you just can't come back with anything. And you know, the only thing that I don't share with like Aaron Raw and what seems to be most atheists is that I am not it seems like most atheists are like liberal Democrats. I'm not. I kind of, that's why I usually don't get into political conversations with fellow atheists. I'm kind of what you'd consider a right-leaning libertarian, because I don't necessarily identify with, I just lost, oh, there you are again. Okay. I don't necessarily, I can't lean all the way right, and I definitely don't lean left. So
you're a little bit of a centrist.
Yeah, I like what both sides have to offer, and I'm a pro-gun guy, you know, but that's pretty much my far-right leaning is just the Second Amendment stuff. But I like the middle-of-the-road stuff. I like it for both sides, and that's why when a lot of people start posting, a lot of my fellow atheists start posting political stuff, I'm just like, that makes me uncomfortable like religion. I'm just like, I'm just going to leave all that shit alone.
Yeah, if you're not into the political scene, there's no real use in getting involved with it. But I'm a humanist by nature, right? I do what I can to make the world as good as it can be. I do my part in just trying to, you know, recognize that we're all human beings, you know, and we have to work together to make this place a better place in whatever fashion we can. So that's basically my political spectrum right there. Let's see how awesome we can do with this planet and with ourselves and become better people. That's right. That's the way I do it.
I like the way you think. No wonder why I follow you. I think that we're kind of connected in a weird way.
I would agree. Well, I think we have more than just that connection, my friend. We have musical connections, both being musicians, you know, stuff like that. So, when did you start learning to play guitar? What age did you start?
I think I was like, my first go at it was when I was probably 8 or 9. My dad got me an acoustic guitar, and I tried to learn. I couldn't read notes, and I couldn't grasp the concept of reading notes. And I went to a few lessons, and the guitar teacher tried to get me to read notes, and it still didn't compute very well, so I just kind of gave it up. And then we moved to Columbus, Nebraska, and I met, one of my best friends in the whole world there, and he played guitar, and at the time, we were both 13, and he was just awesome at it. And I'm like, I need to pick up a guitar again. And so once I did, he showed me one thing that changed my life. That was what I like to affectionately call the heavy metal bar chord.
Oh no! I think I know exactly where you're going here.
Once I was able to contort my fingers that way, I started playing, and basically I learned everything by ear. And then my one of my brother-in-laws, is also a guitar player, and he blows me away like tenfold. He started. I couldn't grasp playing leads, and so basically he started showing me like the minor pentatonic blues scale, things like that. And once I understood all of that, it made playing leads a little easier. And so one night my girlfriend had one of her friends over, and she started bragging up my guitar skills. And I'm like, no, please. You know what? I can play. I'll just leave that to myself. I'm not trying to get famous. She goes, no, watch this. I can pick one song, and he can learn to play it within 10 minutes. I'm like, don't do it. Don't do it. And it was a Megadeth song, and I can't see what the hell was that. It was something off of Euthanasia, I believe.
Shit, I'm trying to remember now. By the way, I figured this out. It's me that's making that horrible noise come out of the other side there. Every time I talk is when this is happening. So, sorry guys, it's all my fault. And guess who just showed up into the chat? Mr. Duke Bonanza. We must have tweaked his ears. His ears must have been burning because we were talking about him earlier. So,
hey, Duke.
Duke, my friend Matthew here is also a guitar player. We're thinking we need to get together and make an Atheist record. We just need a bass player and a drummer now.
We need to get together and figure out, okay, where are our musicians at? We need to make an album.
Yeah. Oh, I have a song, actually. Well, not I. My buddy Chris, my guitar player, wrote the music for it, but I wrote the lyrics for it. It was actually another song with I was using. We were using different lyrics at the time when my old drummer was in the band, but he left the band. But the guitar parts were my guitar player Chris's song, and I wrote new lyrics to it called "Let It Go," and it's about leaving religion behind. It's all about that sort of thing. So I've already got one of our first Atheist tunes.
Cool.
Not to be confused with the "Let It Go" from Frozen, the movie, either.
Yeah, no shit. I've about had it with that song and Baby Shark. Holy shit.
Oh, yeah.
I can't escape that fucking song. I was stuck in San Diego for a whole week, and because my Peterbilt was getting fixed at Peterbilt to San Diego. And one day my room was getting a little warm, so I opened up the window, and somebody spent a shit ton of money getting one of them booming sound systems in their cars, and you'll never guess what the fuck they decided to play. Baby Shark. And I'm like,
oh no.
Oh my God. I'm like, oh, and that's something for whatever reason I can't stop saying, oh my God. And I think part of that is because it's so ingrained in our culture that, you just can't not help but say. I even hear Matt Dillahunty say, oh my God, every once in a while, especially with callers on the Atheist Experience, that you can't get through to them on certain things, like when they accuse us of like atheism is a religion. We're like, oh my God, no, it's not.
I hate that.
we just explained that to you, that we have a lack of belief. I'm like, okay, yeah, okay, atheism is a religion, just like non-stamp collecting is a hobby, or, you know, bald is a hair color, or off is a TV channel. So, yeah. I don't remember where, oh yeah, Baby Shark, screw that song. I was trying to remember where we were going with all this. I
don't know. These conversations can go all over the place sometimes, brother. So
sometimes, yeah, I get sidetracked. Oh, there was something else I was going to add to about the whole non-religious thing, but I also, that kind of went. So, yeah. See ya. Eventually, it's kind of like a boomerang. It'll come around to me at the most inconvenient time when you're trying to explain something. I'll be like, "Oh, I got it!" And we'll get sidetracked, and then it'll leave again. Like, you bastard!
You'll be in a completely different. You'll be in a completely different conversation, and all of a sudden you'll jump up and go, "Oh, there it is!"
Yeah, yeah. Anyways, yeah. So that's my views. I get asked quite a bit if I think that the world would be better off without religion or without the belief in God, and I go, you know, with religion, yes, the world would be a lot better off without religion, but I'm not going to limit somebody's rights to, you know, not worship whatever they want, because you know what, you can do all the worshiping you want. Just quit passing your stuff off to me as truth. You know, I'm not gonna come to your church, and well, unless I'm asked, you know, and try to explain to everybody that, oh, this is bullshit or whatever. You know, I'm not gonna do that, because that's just being a dickhead. You know.
Well, yeah. I mean, religion. There's aspects of religion that I wish would disappear. Religion also comes with some, you know, but the problem is, I mean, it comes with community, it comes with, you know, charity, it comes with some other things too. The only problem is all of this stuff can be had outside of religious beliefs.
Absolutely.
You can get secular versions of anything like that.
Yeah, they actually did a study. I think I seen a YouTube video on it too, where they had a religious group that was raising money and an atheist group that was raising money for the same cause. And they were asking people, you know, are you going to give to the, you know, the religious group or the atheist group? And most of them were like, well, we're going to give the religious group the money because we don't know about atheists. We don't know if they're trusting or whatever. And I'm like, they're just normal people. They're, you know, we atheists we're not the, you know, Satan worshipers that we, you know, everybody thinks that we are or whatever, you know. And I figure that, you know, if you're a theist doing that kind of work, it seems like you're only doing it because it might score you brownie points to get to this heaven that is described in the Bible. And so I'd like, you know, that's just kind of my view on that. I could be wrong. Some people just do. But I do, like, I'm here
atheists
Columbus,
are generally
Ohio.
Good without God. We don't need a God to be good.
Right. I'm here in Columbus, Ohio at the Pilot, and some older guy helped me back in my truck into the space, and then he explained to me that they come to the truck stops so they can raise money for wounded veterans that are coming into the Columbus area, and they raise money for, like, this family that's coming in either today or tomorrow or whatever. It's a family of 5, and they go, usually we raise about $57 per family. And there's only one family coming in, and I was wondering if I could do something that I could earn some money. You want your trailer swept out? I'm like, oh boy, do I ever. I have a furniture trailer. You know, we haul exhibits. We haul for Harley Davidson. So it's one of them high cube.
Ooh.
It's low, it's 8 foot in the first 10 feet of the trailer, then it's 10 foot. So I get all sorts of debris, pieces of wood and nails and screws and all sorts of crap in there that has to be swept out periodically. Otherwise, my pallet jack doesn't like to roll. So
no, that's a problem.
yeah, and I let him do that for $20, and I knew, he showed me his veterans card and all that, and I didn't do it thinking that I was going to score brownie points to get into heaven, or that God thinks it's good or anything like that. I did it because I support our troops and our wounded warriors, because our government doesn't seem to really care about them. Yeah, especially after they come back from battle. It just seems like, look at how
they've got what they needed from them.
Yeah, and so you're pretty much useless. So yeah, you can see how the VA is run, and it's just ridiculous. So I helped out with them kinds, and like I was in Las Vegas getting fuel or something like that, and a couple of ladies from I was in Phoenix, and they were from Tucson. And they were one of the ladies was crying because she needs to get home. They were in a nice car, and they basically didn't budget enough, and they ran out of money. And they had kids who were like, "Look, we just need gas to get home and maybe a few snacks. Can you please help us with some money?" I go, "Yeah, sure. Here's $20." And I left. I'm like, I did it out of the kindness of my heart. It's just, us atheists can do that sort of thing because we genuinely want to help people. We're not trying to score. We're not trying to score brownie points. But,
exactly.
So
by the way, there's some conversations going on in the chat there about chocolate covered pizza and stuff like that. So I told them, speaking of brownies, I told them that I've had bacon brownies before, which were fucking amazing.
Really?
But yeah, oh yeah. If you ever have an opportunity to try bacon brownies, they're awesome.
Huh. I might have to try that. I have to get the girlfriend the recipe or something, and she'll have to try it.
Just make brownies and put fucking chunks of bacon in it. It's brilliant. It's that whole sweet salty thing.
Yeah, it probably, and people who like that Wendy's thing where they dip fries in their Frosty. I've tried that, and I'm like, oh no, who likes that? Ugh. Because I've tried it. There's just something that went haywire with the taste, and I'm like, how do you,
I was never a fan of that.
How does your brain comprehend it? Because it just made a mess in my mouth. I wanted to spit it out, but I wasn't.
What's wrong with you people?
But yeah, so bacon brownies.
Yes, Diana, Lavender Lady's in the chat right now. She's like, "Ooh, I have to try bacon." Yes, you do, and you will not be sorry. Bacon brownies. You have to use maple bacon, okay, because it's got a little bit of that sweet edge to it with the saltiness, and it is fucking phenomenal. Phenomenal.
I'll have to try that.
Unbelievable. Anyway, step one, bacon brownies. Doorknob has like, step one, get baked. I concur.
That's funny.
Cheeseburgers and milkshake. Sassy, we can't be friends anymore. What's wrong with you? Cheeseburger and a milkshake? What's wrong with you?
Well, yeah, you can eat them separate, just the two together, like they actually dipping the fries in the Frosty. So you have a big glob of Frosty on there, and then you're like, oh, stop that shit. What's wrong with you?
The fried potato mixed in with the Frosty ice cream. It didn't work for me either. I couldn't get into that one. I tried it more than once.
Well, and
you never know.
I couldn't cut it down at the time because I hadn't tried it. So I go by that old adage of don't knock it till you try it. And then I tried it, and it was supposed to have been the sweet and salty mixture, and apparently it didn't have enough salt or something. It didn't have something because it didn't jive in my mouth. Okay, that was just, yeah.
It's cold, mushy hell.
It's just called what the fuck? What did I just put in my mouth?
Ooh, Diana found a recipe for bourbon bacon brownies. Ooh. She's always fucking trying to one up me here.
Bourbon bacon brownies. Oh man.
Hey, BBA. Bible Belt Atheist has now joined us as well.
Cool. Hey, what's up?
All right. Well, what I usually do, Matthew, is after these interviews, because we are actually past the usual hour that I do. I run an after party, and you're welcome to join us for an after party. But I'll send you a new link. Well, of course you're welcome. You're the guest of honor today, so I'll send you a new link, and you can hang out with me and a few of our friends.
Cool.
If you're up for that.
Yeah.
It's not like you're going anywhere. You're hanging out at a fucking Flying J. Is it Flying J you're at today? Or?
No, well, no, it's at a Pilot, which Flying J and Pilot are either merged or one bought out the other or something like that. So it's more or less.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. We've got them around the corner from me here. So, and I think you're right. I think they merged and became Flying J is now Pilot, or I think they're using the name Flying J though for the most part now.
Yeah, well, they're keeping the monikers. They're changing around some of the stores. They're using their independent monikers and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just stuck here till tomorrow morning, and then I go over to the Columbus Convention Center, and I got three loads to pick up, and they are supposed to, one goes to Carroll Stream, Illinois. The other one goes to somewhere in Georgia, and the other one in California. But they actually have different drop points other than that because they haven't actually been assigned yet by the various agents to go where they're supposed to go. So I'm just kind of stuck.
I have a message for you from Sassy Atheist. She says, "Thanks, Matthew, for standing up for me to the Christians." So
you're welcome. I love Sassy Atheist. She's awesome.
She's awesome. Yeah, I interviewed her. Well, I think you popped in for that. I think when I was interviewing her a couple weeks ago.
That was a great interview. She, and I feel good listening to a lot of these because then I feel even less alone than I did before. And all these people that are all these people that start following me, I feel it's a great community. It really is. We all support each other as much as we can. And that's what I love about the whole thing. Nobody's judgmental or anything like that. That's great.
Yeah. And if there's still room in my group chat, I'll add you to the group chat as well. And we can meet some more folks too. Basically, all right, guys, we're going to do an after party here with Matthew, and you guys know where to find the link. It's in my Neil's Usual Suspects chat group, and if you're not in that group and you do want to join, you can send me a request in DM, and I'll give you a personal link there. And Matthew, I'll send you a fresh link in a couple. I'm going to step out and have a quick smoke, so. And then we'll get this after party going. So you might need me to take a piss break or something. I don't know.
Fine, I'll be all right. As far as I know, I don't have to go. But anyways, you do what you got to do, and we'll see you in a little bit then.
You betcha. And dude, thank you so much for. I know it was last minute, but I guess the opportunity happened, and you didn't have much to do tonight because you're stuck at a truck stop, and so it worked out.
Well,
we've been trying to get you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. You were kind of hyping up this interview, and I'm thinking, yeah, you know what? A bunch of people are going to tune into this and think, this is what I tuned in for. This guy is not interesting at all. So
no, dude, don't even think that you are. You have a story to tell, and you told it. And everyone needs to use their voice as much as they possibly can and tell their stories, because you'd be surprised at how many people can identify with exactly what you've said. So, and every story like this helps people that are starting to doubt, that are feeling alienated from their family and friends that are still religious, and they need to know that there's a community like us out there that have their backs. So
Absolutely.
that's why I do these. Anyways, Matthew, thanks again, dude, and thanks everyone for tuning in to hang out with us. We're going to do the after party probably within about 10 minutes, I would say. I'm going to go and grab a couple of refills for my little mini cooler that I have here that I always have prepped for my interviews, usually. Yeah, well, they're just, I bought some last night for jam night, and they're just the remnant. So,
okay.
A couple of beers. Anyways, deconversion stories are the best. This is from Doorknob Head, who also said I was pretty. Thanks, Doorknob Head. I never really looked at myself and considered pretty, but okay. Even though I've never deconverted, yeah, Doorknob Head's been an atheist. I think he told me before that he's been an atheist for his whole life. But anyways, all right, guys. You know what I say at the end of all these interviews is, remember, it's called faith because it's not knowledge.